Greetings out there in YouTube land. This is Morris Man, and as always, I thank you guys for coming to my channel. I'm going to do another video. This is kind of the piggybacking off of the one that I just posted about the Dr. Tech bases. If you find one, grab it because it's hard to find them. And the reason why it's hard to find them because the big bass companies don't want you to have one of those. Because that guitar goes up against the $1,000 flagship bass guitars, the Olympics, the Fenders, the Rickenbackers, or Bacher. But, this video was about a software program. And this software program probably at least 12, 13 years old now. It's called Hip Hop Ejay. And I first got one of the Hip Hop Ejay, like I said, about 13, 15 years ago. Dynamite program. I highly recommended it for inspiring rappers and singers that didn't have any instrument experience. They're just rappers and focusing on that, which is cool. And didn't know how to play an instrument or anything, but they got good rapping skills. And the software kind of went like this. It's a computer software program, and it had a lot of like bass lines, drum parts, keyboard parts, horn parts, string parts, and they were all in the same key, so you can mix and match the beats and the bass lines, and they were never out of key. The tempo was always the same too, so you can just whatever you thought sound good to you, you can drag it into the timeline, and then just start stacking. You might want to start with your drums first, build that. Then you started with the drum bass line, and there were multiple bass lines, so you can actually mix them so you can get a change in your song as opposed to a 5-minute groove that doesn't change. So you had the ability to put changes in. You can modify the drums where a certain part in the part of the track, the drums fall out, which is really an effective rap production tool. A lot of rappers use that as a heavy emphasis when the drums drop out, and then they do a line or whatever. The program was dynamite, and it was only like $20-$30, and it came from the UK, and the UK has different copyright issues versus us. I think each country had their own interpretation and laws of copyright. So it was royalty free, meaning that when you purchase it, and if you want to actually go into the studio with these tracks and lay your vocals, you could do that and not worry about being sued by the people that did it. It was just so revolutionary and awesome, because when my daughter was a little girl at the time, I sat her down in front of her and she kind of put together her own little groove. It was just that easy. I think my daughter was only about 11, 13 years old at the time, probably young. Yeah, she was younger, probably about 9 to 10 actually. Yeah, 9 to 10. So they would come out with newer versions, each, maybe every 2 years, because, music sounds start to become dated after some period of time, and, you move on to the next sound of today. And what happened was this, and it was pretty interesting. A lot of software companies, music software companies, felt that Hip Hop Ejay was a threat, and they were. And they decided to get together, pull their funds together or capital, and buy the company. And then guess what they did when they bought the company? They shut it down. They shut it down because they didn't want the competition. And that's what a lot of major companies do these days. They buy the company and shut it down. Because many years ago, this had to have been probably the late 50s, early 60s, there was actually a movie based on this true story. Is a man by the name of Tucker, and I believe Jeff Bridges portrayed him in the movie. And Tucker had a very revolutionary car at the time, and this was like in the 50s, early 60s. And his car during that period had turn signals. Now, turn signals were not put on cars until the late 60s, because I still remember, and I guess I'm dating myself, when my dad was driving his car and there were no turn signals, he would literally have to put his hand out the window to signify if he making a left or right turn. And here's a man that built a car 20 years or 10, 15 years earlier that had turn signals. And the car was, again, revolutionary, and it was very economical. And it was kind of putting I guess it was making the other car companies kind of on edge, because again, it was a car that you can pay for that was cheaper in price, but had all these new features that these other companies were not willing to spend money to put in their cars at that point. So they actually, the car industry pulled together and they shut Tucker down, you know. And that's quite common. And that's exactly what happened to Hip Hop Ejay. These companies pulled together. I forgot the name of the company that bought them. And they shut them down. You can still buy these on eBay for like $10 the disc and load the program onto your PC. But of course, again, now the sounds are very dated. But if they were to come out with a newer version with these newer drum sounds, newer bass lines and bass sounds, it would be an awesome product because again, you can, you know, kind of like puzzles and you kind of put it together, you know, the drum tracks, the bass line, however you want it. And then you can take the music file and drop it into like a Cubase or Reasons or another type of a Pro Tools, and then you can lay your vocals. Because actually you could separate them. You could actually separate them and put them in separate, so you have control over the individual tuning or EQing of these instruments, and then lay your vocals. And the really cool part about it was, which I did mention, was everything was studio ready. They weren't just a drum sound that was recorded on, you know, on somebody's 4-track and then it was put in there. They were professionally compressed drum sounds, professionally compressed bass sounds, guitar sounds would have professional ambience as far as reverb and echo and distortion. So I mean, it was ready to go out the box to be mastered and actually make a recording of it. You know, and again, all of the compositions that were put in there were royalty free. So again, you can do a whole album, a Hip Hop Ejay, and not worry about somebody coming back to sue you because they actually played or created the bass line. But I just thought I would do this video just for us to give you guys kind of a interesting history on a particular product that was threatening the industry as far as these companies, and they had to shut them down because it's like we can't have this because, you know, this is just a cool program and it kind of dip into our pockets and take some of our revenue. So whenever in business you are a threat to another company, they shut you down, or they attempt to shut you down. So until next time, take care. Hope this was entertaining and enlightening.